top tier when it feels so right. Interviews with legends, secrets that they share. If the stories of success, find the vision, get aware. Jimmy Nelson in the house, turning dreams to gold. Tune in, take a listen, walk the fortune of jewels.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Elite Real Estate Podcast. Coming live to you every Friday morning at 7:30 on KGCI Radio, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and all kinds of places. So we are out here. Tons of places to be at. So very excited this morning about my special guest joining me. You can see him if you're watching us right now live on our stream, Mr. Chris Osterlund. Man, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. You know, I'm alive, I'm well, and always grateful for the opportunity. So thanks for having me, and appreciate you sitting down and chatting with you.
Yeah, my man, for sure. I'm giving you our crowd applause. But yeah, I appreciate having on. So Chris Osterlund from Rocket Mortgage joining us this morning here live, and we're gonna dive into some cool stuff. One that Rocket has going on, and then of course, you know, where you're coming from, where you're at, and how long you've been. I'm gonna let you go with your story first. So you start out where you been, how you been doing this, and what's been going on.
Sure, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. So I've been at Rocket for just shy of 18 years. So it's been a little while. It's funny, the more people you talk to and you say you've been doing something for a while, then you talk about how long people have been doing things. It seems like 18 years is a long time now. Right. When I was growing up, everybody was like, yeah, I've been at Ford for 20 years.
Yeah.
But I've loved the journey, man. Love being at Rocket. I would never really want to do it anywhere else, even though all those, LinkedIn check-ins. Hey, are you happy? I'm like, no, I'm great.
Man. Oh yeah,
so
the LinkedIn check-ins are great.
Yeah, but no, I love it. I've been with the company for almost 18 years. Started in my early 20s, college, and then Rocket, and I haven't left with Quicken Loans back then. Yeah. I've done a lot of stuff for the company, some specialty projects, but the whole time originating or running a sales team, and I ran a sales team for probably about 7 years of my career, of my 18 years with the company. And I love it, man. And what we're doing now, genuinely is the best version of originating mortgages that I've ever had, with all the specialties, all the things that I've done. What we're doing now is incredible. It's great. And it's really the way a lot of other places do it. But we've been a call center.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, I know most people know this, but that's where I was started. It was at Quicken back in the day.
Yeah. Well, we started as Boulder Financial and then Rock Financial, and then Rock Financial is kind of the big one that everybody knew.
Yep.
Right. And all of our business then was face-to-face. We've evolved. We did Mortgage in a Box, and then we transitioned that out into the web center where we did online lending. And we got a little bit away from the local aspect because it was so easy to reach everybody online and provide a great service that way and reach more clients. And obviously it worked out great.
Yeah. Yeah. If for those that don't remember, we've been around for a while, but like the Mortgage in a Box was a genius idea.
It was great. One of the guys on my team now, Brian, was actually in that original video that you saw with Jay and Gary Gilbert and Dan and all that. They flipped to me and they go, hey, here's Brian. He goes, yeah, it's my desk right there. And so he's still with the company 29 years later. So he just joined my team. But we were face-to-face for a long time, representing ourselves in Michigan, Indiana, Ohio. Went to the online aspect. And what we're doing right now, which is what I'm really enjoying, is we're local. We're hiring people around the country that are local in market. A lot of them were, working for other, online lenders or brokerages or whatever. They've been in the business, and we're growing through having people live in the community that can give their time, their effort, their energy back to the community to take part in the community and provide our services, boots on the ground.
Yeah.
So that's what I haven't taken any business from Rocket in probably 5 years. So I do everything organic, referral based, building great relationships and expanding my network. And that's what I do. And 2 years ago, October of 22, that was when this whole thing kicked off. And now our goal is to get back to our grassroots, be local, have representation within the community, put all of the resources and great stuff that we can do as a company in the hands of somebody who can shake hands and be at closings and do it through the relationship based aspect, which to me is the best way to do business.
Yeah. Well, it's important, right? I think consumers now are different. We've gone through phases of consumers, right? Like 80s, you had to climb the yes ladder, and it was the boiler room stuff, right? Yeah. Which kind of evolved over time, which is not so much boiler room anymore. But no, I mean, I think the relationship piece is so important.
It's incredibly important. I think our businesses align so well with the way that people transition over time. Um, I started my career in a call center where you're making phone calls, and it's one thing that I always did is I always made it personal. I always enjoy people.
Yeah, me
I think to
too.
be a good salesperson, sometimes being a salesman or saleswoman has like a negative connotation to some people, and some people it doesn't. But people don't ever want to feel like they're being sold is kind of the commonplace.
Right.
And I only think that happens when people get into what we do for the wrong reasons. I think when you get into sales for the right reasons, it's just because you genuinely love people, you like solving their problems, and you like the relationship aspect, and you love when people can rely on you to solve a problem for them and provide them a great service in doing it. I think that's the true nature of sales. When you love that and you love people, then success in whatever you're doing, no matter what it is, it just comes. So for me to start in a web center making phone calls and building relationships over the phone, it was great. And I think for real estate folks, a lot of times you spend a lot of your early parts of your career buying leads and paying for the Zillows, and if you get with a good brokerage, you
Yeah.
get to the ears and stuff like that. And you kind of cut your teeth making phone calls. But I think the goal is always and always should be to get to the point where you don't have to do that anymore, because you could spend 20 to 25 hours a week just making phone calls, or you could dedicate that time to building relationships. And if the average agent closes 1 or 2 deals a month, I think if you spent 25 hours a week building your network, you could probably find 1 or 2 closings a month,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that for us, building our relationship between you and me, and being able to create our own network where we have people that we trust to handle our client's business, whether it's insurance, whether it's a home inspector, whether it's a moving company, whatever it is. I think when you can team up with other professionals and you build a network, now you have something that's special. You can control the experience for your clients. And that's how you build a network to do things the way that we do it, where, people are entrusted to you because of the network that you've built. So that's what we do now. And that's what my business channel is focused on. And that's why I love it more than anything I've ever done for the company, because it gives me an opportunity to just be that resource for people. And obviously it's worked out well.
Yeah.
And and we just have so much to offer. Being online and being a large company is great. You don't want to have a large company feel, but you want to be able to use
Right.
the benefits of being large and having resources, and then put it in the hands of somebody who can make it feel like you're the only thing that they're worried about at that time. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what we're doing, man.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to ask you. Like, so this shift, it's a shift, right? I mean, it's a shift from push button get mortgage,
Yeah.
to like call me and get mortgage,
Yeah, or text me.
or text me,
Yeah,
right?
text me, get mortgage. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a sector of people who love being able to do a lot of things on their own. What we found is that even a lot of those people, they just go, you know what, just call me.
Yeah, right, right.
They still like a lot of the ease, but even a lot of people who would push button and fill out stuff, at some point they all just say, I need some advice. I want to talk this out. So I think you end up getting that real live person at some point anyways.
Yeah,
And that's the protection for us. People will always need other people to make them feel good about what they do, and
always.
and leverage your expertise.
Yeah, that's one of the funny things I found too about everybody's talking about AI, right? And how AI is going to replace you, and AI can do this, and AI can do that. The thing that AI can't do, and I don't think we'll ever be able to do, right? I watched Terminator enough times, but I don't think it'll ever do that. It won't create that relationship, right? It'll respond to you. Like if I go into my Chat GPT right now and ask it questions, it'll respond to me, and it sounds pretty nice. Actually, he's pretty nice back to me.
Yeah. What's funny is there was a piece of AI that was built, and I forgot what it is, but we had a meeting once, and it was around the same context. And this AI was so advanced that it could dig deep on somebody's goals and ask questions. And it was played to illustrate exactly why AI could not replace a human being. And the funny thing was, it did a really good. The first 2 minutes of listening to this, you're like, oh my god, this
Yeah.
is great. But then after that, it started going other layers deep and asking questions, and then it got annoying because it was like, what? Like, why are you
Yeah.
asking me that again? So it was like, listen, computers will never be able to replace the human ability to interpret, when you've done enough and move on the conversation. There's nothing will ever fully replace the human being. It just can't. Yeah, the AI was pretty cool, but
yeah, it's pretty cool.
but it gets to a point where it's like, okay, listen, we need humans. We definitely need humans.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's kind of, I think what, like, to what you're doing right now with Rocket, I think is exactly probably what Rocket needed. Right? I think it needed that. I think it needed that, again, getting back to the grassroots, getting back to the relationship piece, because you're right in downtown Detroit. You're 20 minutes from here. You know what I mean? Like, but it seemed like you were miles away.
Even though we were next door.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did. Well, we need to be able to help everyone home. I mean, that's our mission, is to help everybody home. And so, what that means to me is we need to create the ability for everybody to interact with us in a way that's the most comfortable to them.
Yep.
So there's a lot of people who want to be able to make a phone call and take care of their business and move on. There's a lot of people who want to be able to sit down and have a cup of coffee. There's a lot of people who, like we just talked a minute ago about building your network. There's a lot of people who want to say, "Hey, Jimmy, I met you in person. We click. I can tell you're a good guy. Who do you know that I should trust?" And then that's where, the relationships come in. But people have different ways they want to interact, transact, and do business. And for us, we need to be able to meet people wherever they want to be. And I think this is a piece of our business where there's a lot of people who want to do business this way, and now we can fulfill that need. And honestly, man, it's great to be able to show up to a closing if it's local. It's great to be able to be here and interact. And now I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I've been doing stuff there for a while in Troy, which is where I live. And so, to me, it's definitely an enjoyable way to do business. Now, don't get me wrong. I've had a lot of great experiences on the phone, and when you're in a office atmosphere, you really get to know your friends there, and
100%.
and you learn a lot. I've absorbed a ton. So, I loved my time in the call center. I loved the time that I spent learning and growing and meeting new people there. And now I'm loving what I'm doing now. And again, we can meet everybody where they need to be, do business in a way they want to do it, and help everybody.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things you said, and I want everybody to kind of recognize that. And I think this is, I think, the key to sales, is you said meet people where they are. And I think that's one thing we miss a lot in sales, is we don't meet people where they are. We're trying to get them to come to us, right?
Yeah.
But we don't meet them where they are. Like, we don't find out what their problem is. We just talk to talk a lot, right? And I think the art of sales actually is asking more questions, letting them respond.
Yeah, you need to be more of a listener. 100%. That's, some of the most intelligent, incredibly smart professionals in the sales world that I've grown to know. I mean, Jay Farner is a great example. Who was our CEO for many, many years. And I loved working with Jay. When you would talk to him, you felt like you were the only conversation in the room.
Yes.
I mean, he was never eager to talk. He would always listen, and he would gather the information and really be present. And then he could formulate thoughts, opinions, and ideas, but he was always thinking and just taking in information as you were talking and making you feel like, he was in the conversation with you.
Yeah.
Even though he's running the company,
Right.
And so some of the best, and he's a homegrown sales guy. He used to originate mortgages for the company back when it was Rock Financial. Bill Emerson, who's our, who helps run Rock Holdings for Dan now. But Bill was his director. I mean, these guys all grew up as sales
They
professionals.
all got their hands dirty.
They did. That's where
Yeah.
they started, and they grew the
Yeah.
company from the ground. And now they're, they've been some of the smartest people I've ever known. And obviously, it's shown the company's done great because of their leadership. But being present and listening to people and understanding their needs, and then fulfilling those needs after getting a true understanding of what they need. That's true sales, right?
100%. And I find this too, because obviously the names you're putting out, I know, right? Tony Knuckles is another one, right? Like another, like,
One of my favorite people.
Yeah. And then I transitioned that over to EXP, to where I'm at today, and a Glenn Sanford or a Leo Perea.
Yeah.
Some of the smartest people I know are the quietest. That funny?
Because they're always gathering information, and they're just thinking, man. They're thinking in quiet. They're having good, deep, impactful thought, and they're responding relevantly and trying to give you their best. And I think that's a skill that I think people learn as they get older and they get smarter and they get wiser.
Yep.
The wiser you get, the less you talk.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Because again, it's because you're loud doesn't mean you're right.
Sometimes you wish you could teach some people that.
Yeah, you wish. There's some people I wish I could talk to about that. But that's for another show. But I to me, I think, and that's one of the skills that obviously you've learned, and that Quick can help me out with, Rock can help me out with, was like that the art of the sale, right? And asking more questions, digging deep, right? The ARP, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny when I start talking about ARPing, I have to explain kind of to people what that is, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Acknowledge, respond, pivot.
Yeah.
But
and it's language that we know.
Yeah.
And I start saying it, and it's like, I'm giving it from the inside out. So yeah, it's different stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because people get into it and they think, oh, it's a sales tack. I go, no, it's a conversational tool. It's a way to make sure that the conversation is going in a way that you need. And when you're in a situation where you're giving advice or you're selling, you need to be able to kind of take the conversation where you need it to go, because there's information you need and you need to be able to absorb everything. And so there's a lot of those skills, conversational skills, that we learned. But yeah, you mentioned a name like a Tony Knuckles, one of my all-time favorite people in the world. I mean,
what a great guy.
What a phenomenal human being. But this is kind of where we talk about building that personal relationship, right? What's funny is, and I've recently just reminded myself of this. There's so many opportunities in business to really enjoy what you do and do things organically. I mean, think about your cell phone. Think about, the opportunity to just keep in touch with people that you haven't talked to in years and build your business that way. So when you talk about building relationships and listening and solving problems, a lot of people are so externally focused on trying to find the next opportunity that they forget that, for somebody who's newer in the business, sometimes your best asset's just right here at your cell phone contacts.
Oh man. So this is one of the things I coach new agents on all the time. New agents, and if you're a new agent, or if you're a new mortgage officer, right? Like loan officer, right? Either one. Like
car salesman, whatever
whatever sales it is. Like so we talk about like you have a CRM, right?
Yeah.
Or do you have a database? And they're like, I don't really have one. I'm like, pick up that phone that you have in your hand. How many contacts do you have in there? Start calling them.
Yeah.
Like just start calling them and just have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
See how far you get.
The good news is you don't have to call and talk business. You can just call and keep in touch with people. And the more people that are in your personal network that care about you and just generally know what you do, you don't have to, hey, here's what I do. Here's my product. Here's what no, you just, as long as they know what you do and they care about you and your well-being, then they're the most likely person to want to see you do well and send you business and refer people to you.
Yeah. So one of my favorite scripts ever is the favor script.
Yeah.
Right? I call and say, hey, can you do me a favor? Most people are like, sure, what do you need? Listen, I'm trying to help 20 families the next year either move in or out of their house, and I'd love to help them out. Do you know anybody that's looking?
Yeah.
Most people are like, I don't right now, but as soon as I do, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Hey, can you just think of me this next year? 2025, my goal is to have a very big impact on my business. And, I figured the best way to do that is to ask people who I care about, who care about me, to help me do that.
Yeah. It's simple.
It's very easy. And it's, like, why wouldn't they do that? What I just did recently is my buddy owns a deli, and I was just thinking to myself, like, man, I have so many friends who own businesses or who are in business who could benefit from, a kind word. So I just posted on my social media, said, hey, if you're looking for the best sandwich known to mankind, you need to go to Tony's Deli.
Yeah.
It's in Kego Harbor, right off Orchard Lake Road. Like, you need to go there. Best sandwiches in the world. And he's also one of my best friends, godfather to one of my kids. I'm like, why wouldn't I support his business? So I just put a post out there, and another one of my buddies does insurance. And so I put a post out there for him. I'm like, I want to start, I don't want to ask people to do it for me and not do it for them.
Right.
Like, I need to start proactively doing it for them. So I think it's just it's an opportunity for you to just enjoy people a little bit more that you want to keep in touch with, that because of life. Some of your best friends you don't talk to for a long time.
Yeah.
You don't lose that. You're like, you could pick up the phone tomorrow. I'm like, hey, I haven't talked to you in 5 years.
Right.
But, I love you, man. Like, it's been so long.
And again, like, this is the time of year to make it an easy reach out, right? It's the holiday season. It's like, you could call and just be like, hey, how have you been? I know we haven't talked in a while, but hey, how is things going? Like, it's simple. This is I tell agents all the time, this is the time of year. Like these are the easy reach outs. you're not even talking about business. Just like, hey, how are things going? How's the family? And again, this isn't an easy time of year for everybody.
Yeah.
Some people struggle this time of year, right? You know, I was at a funeral last night. You know what I mean? Like this is not a fun time of year to be at a funeral,
No.
right? But it's life. It happens. So I think like, but this is a great time to just reach out, just do a check in with people.
Well, that's the thing is if you're growing a business and you have a product or service or something that you need to sell, and that's the nature of your business, what you really need to spend your time focusing on is just relationships and strengthening relationships. Not even
I
just
love
not
that.
always just new ones. That's if you want to be successful, that's the number because the most successful people are the people who genuinely love what they do and they care about the people that they're doing it for. And they do it honestly. They do it in a way that people would say, you know what, that's a good dude, or that's a great girl. You know, like man, I really genuinely care about that person because they care about me and they care about my outcome, you know? So what better way to be successful in business than do it while you focus on spending most of your time on furthering relationships that you already have and just spending your time letting people know that you care about them and letting people know that you know what you do and you want to be able to help them and when your business is made up of a bunch of great relationships and that's where all your business comes from, man, it doesn't even feel like work anymore. It feels like you're just enjoying time with friends and family and, you know, people that you meet.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like you can make your life so easy.
Make a great living. You can make a great living just by enjoying relationships.
And just being a nice person in general.
Yeah.
Like
Crazy, right?
Yeah, crazy.
That's why I love what we do.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? So you know, I've been on both sides. I did mortgages, worked at Rocket, and then you know, in real estate. I really like the real estate piece because again, I'm face to face. Not that you're not, but I'm, you know what I mean. Like it's more personal in a sense. Like I'm walking into somebody's house that could be their home eventually. You know what I mean? And now it becomes really personal because now I'm in your house. So I think that's one of the pieces that I really enjoy of it. And one of the things that I've really concentrated on, and going back to my time at Rocket, was one of the biggest things was how do I help people get better, right? How do I help a loan officer get better? How to help a real estate agent get better? Like how can I help support them to make them better? And again, it's all we talk about is the same thing. It's like how do I build more relationships, which is what your business channel now at Rocket is doing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, get out there and build some relationships and that's and you said something that's great. You guys love being in the home and being a part of the client's life. Well, you're my client. I love being a part of your life. I love being a part of your business. I love the thing that I love about what we do is I get to enjoy a lot of those payoffs at the end where the client gets a home and they're happy and sometimes there's tears of joy and they just got a house where now all their kids have their own bedroom. I get all that. Not quite as close as you, but I get all that. But even better, you get to be my client. And now I get to be in a situation where you trust me to help you do that, get that person into a home at the highest level humanly possible. And then you entrust me with the ability to do that. And
Yeah.
so for me, you know, I get the client experience, which is great. But then every agent or every business partner that I work with, they're my client too. And when somebody comes back to you and wants to work with you more and more and more, to me, that feeling is great as well because you earn that trust, you earn that favor. And somebody says, hey, I'm going to build my business. Your business is built on referrals. Your business is built on a great client experience. And when I can be the person that you turn around and say, hey, my business really depends on me being able to connect my client with you and know that by the time they're done, they're going to go, hey, thank you. That guy was awesome. This experience was great because it makes your career better because now those clients
Yeah.
had an experience that they want to refer. There's less bumps, right? So for me, I love the enjoyment of being able to help the client, but I also love the enjoyment of being the trusted partner of somebody whose business relies on me doing my job very well.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, that's so one of the things too that I've always tried to bridge this gap between realtors and more loan officers because well, it's like that Spider-Man meme. I always say it's like that where the two Spider-Mans are pointing at each other because we both have the same goal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But then, but then sometimes there's like a separator, right?
Yeah, there shouldn't be.
No.
I think that's so this is one of the things that I, you know, there's every agent is constantly approached by lenders, right? That's like builders are too.
Not
I mean,
always. Not always.
well,
Only when rates go up.
yeah. Well, that's funny.
Yeah, when rates go up, lenders start to come to realtors like, "Hey, remember me?" When rates go down, they're just too busy doing refis.
Yeah, unfortunately, purchases the stable business. You should always build that first. But
Oh, say that louder for the people in the
yeah,
back.
no,
My goodness.
yeah, people are always buying and selling homes. That's the stable business. If you can plant your foot and build great relationships around a purchase-based business, refinances will come and go, and they'll take care of you when you need them. But to build a purchase-based business around relationships, that has allowed even in the last couple of years have been probably some of the slower years in quite a while.
Oh, sure.
Especially after the big boom and in 21, I did 545 closings. It's just like
Jeez.
it was insane. I was waking up, sitting at the desk, going to bed at 11,
Yeah.
maybe having one adult soda pop before I got in bed because I was like, man, I need to sit on the couch and have a beer real quick.
Yeah.
Because it's like today was a lot.
I needed to just like decompress a little bit.
Yeah. And so but it's funny, even now in a more what you'd consider a slower time after that big push, I'm still closing over 100 deals for the year, last couple of years. I mean, things are still moving, but it's 100% because of the relationships that I built.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in the lending world who are not doing a ton because a lot of agents are doing a lot less. And if they don't have a strong business or they're not somebody's go-to person or they're not helping them manufacture business or helping them market or helping them, grow and still pushing the ball forward, then their business is getting crushed too. Or if they're relying on leads for, their ability to originate loans. The lead market has changed quite a bit. Conversion rates on purchase leads is not the same as what it was when rates were low, obviously.
Oh no,
but,
no. At one time, we were running a big team. If we were converting Zillow leads at 5%, we were rock stars.
Yeah.
I mean, that was at the height. That was at the peak.
Yeah.
That was if you convert them at 5%, convert to a close, right? Like not only just converting over to a client, but yeah, so I think that's important. And I think the other piece, that's one of the things I really like what you're doing now is creating that, is building that bridge, right, with realtors. And that's again one of the things you've said you've done is all your business comes from just being out in the world.
Yeah, we have a way to pull kind of where our business comes from. I don't take one single opportunity or phone call from Rocket. Just everything I do is all working with great people who, take care of me. I've always said, one of the things I've always said, and if you're an agent that's worked with me, we've probably talked, and I've probably said this before, but good people take care of good people. That's that, and when you build business that way, good people take care of good people. I want to see you succeed, but when you want to see me succeed too, and it's genuine, and we're working with each other, then we'll both win. Then you got two people with the same motivation. And listen, not every transaction's perfect. Not every interaction's perfect. Not every situation comes without speed bumps. But when I have your back, if a client has a problem and I know you well enough to know that it wasn't intentional, or maybe there's more to the story, I can always tell. I always have your back as one of my partners, right? I'm like, hey, you know what? It sounds like you're really frustrated. It sounds like your experience so far isn't quite what you were expecting. But one thing I can promise you is that that's not Jimmy's goal, and there's got to be something going on here. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt, right? And then I can take care of you, and you can take care of me. Instead of, like you said, sometimes there's that barrier where a loan officer will mess something up, or the agent will mess something up, or maybe the client's perception is that somebody messed something up, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, that guy," and then you got to be on the same team. And you got to be on the same team. And when you do that, what you do is and this is going to be something that you've heard before. You lead a client to the right decision with certainty.
Yes.
That's the best thing you can do. So I've worked with a million agents who do business different ways. And some of the agents I've worked with have said, listen, I'm going to, you did a good job, but I'm going to put you on a list of five loan officers I work with. And when clients need business, you did a good enough job. You made the list. I'll give them your information with 5 other people. And I go, respectfully, thank you. I really appreciate that. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I don't really want that.
Yeah.
I don't really want to be a part of a business that way. Respectfully, right? Like it's not that I don't appreciate the opportunity. I do. But what I would prefer and what I think works better for everybody is if you're an agent and you have somebody that you trust and that can get the job done, or maybe you have 1 or 2 or 3, and you say, well, this person does DSCR loans. This person, you have people for everything.
Sure.
But when you have a client where you understand their situation, you know what they need, and then you have the right contact for them, and you already know that they're going to get a great deal. They're not going to get a bad deal. They're going to get a deal that you'd be proud of. If they called 5 other lenders and compared your guy, you would know that they're maybe not always the cheapest, but they're well priced, and then their service and knowledge is really good, so you know that the deal will close. And you refer them to that one person and you speak highly of them. What you're doing is you're creating a situation for the client where they feel comfortable, they feel protected, they feel like they can make an easy decision. When you create indecision by giving somebody 3 different inspection companies and 4 different lenders and all these choices and all these different things, and then you start to play the fiduciary for them, and let me give you all these insurance agents and all these other things. You're creating an environment where it's hard for somebody to make a decision because sometimes they don't know what the right decision is. And, for a client who doesn't understand mortgages, which is probably 90% of people out there,
at least 90%.
Sometimes it's hard to even understand what deal is a really good deal because it's not always about origination. It's not always about points. It's not always about rate. It's not always about PMI. It's not always about down payment assistance. It's not always about this one thing. And sometimes people are fixed on APR. But, hey, if somebody has a low APR, but you're paying a bunch of points, but you plan on refinancing the house in 6 months, why'd you do that? So it's a whole package. So when you can create an environment for somebody where it's easy to make a decision, that's the best thing you can do as an agent. It's also the best thing you can do as a loan officer. You want to create an environment where people feel comfortable. They feel like they can trust the situation that they're in, and it makes it easier for them to make decisions. And at the very end, when they're closing on their house, you leave them with a feeling of, my gosh, this was so easy.
Yeah.
This felt daunting, but it's not. You made it so simple. And when you do that, those are the agents that I work with who do the best. Those are the ones who do the best.
Yeah. And I think the other piece of that too, going back to the relationship piece, is like I'm entrusting you. That's where I get confused, because you and I were at an event where a young agent said, "Oh, I just have a list of 5 people and I just hand it out." And I'm like, "What? Why do you do that?"
No.
Because I want to know that they're in good hands, right?
Yeah.
I want to know that I'm entrusting you with my client now.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's my client. Now I'm giving them to you, so I need to know that you're going to do this, right? I do the same thing, and whether that's a plumber or an electrician or whoever I'm referring them to, that's my client, right?
Yeah.
And I have to look at it that way. I can't just willy-nilly and just be like, "Hey, yeah, just go work with so and so." No, I need to entrust in the fact that you know what you're doing, that you're going to put them in the best financial situation possible, right? That we're a fiduciary.
Yeah.
We're handing you off to a fiduciary. Like we're handing this. Everything has to be correctly handled, and I'd feel the same way about insurance. If I don't know this insurance person, if I don't have one, and if I'm just like, yeah, just get some homeowners insurance. Well, heck, that's not helping them out.
No, it's definitely. I mean, if you know your market area too, you know what companies tend to show up really well.
Yeah.
Like I use Progressive. I mean, I'm not propping them out a ton, but I'm also not down. I'm going to tell you, I've had a great experience with them. And there are certain markets where I know they do very, very well. In Michigan, they tend to be really, really good for insurance and homes. And I had a couple people, say negative things, and they're like, "Oh, I had them, and I had to file a claim." That I had to file a claim. They did great. Never had any issues.
Yeah.
And so, I know in this area, if somebody's looking for a house, I go, "Well, here's who I use." If you don't have to use them, but I get great rates, and I know they give good. I've shopped, with other companies. I know they do well. So if you know who does well, why wouldn't you send your client to them? And especially if you have a rep and you're like, "Hey, they tend to be the cheapest," and I've had clients who've had great experiences. So you want to create an environment like we were talking about, where it's easy for people to make decisions, and they can make those decisions with certainty, knowing that you've already done the legwork.
Yep.
You do enough business where you've had people shop and they've found the best insurance quotes with this company. And by the way, I have this person. You know?
And I like that, there was one quote I saw about a job, right? And it said, if you want me because I'm cheap, don't use me, right? Like,
Yeah,
because I'm not, right? So, but again, then what's the value that you're providing?
yeah. I think there's a lot of folks, and you don't fault them because they wouldn't know, but being in mortgage financing, there's a lot that goes into it. To be
Yeah.
really, really, really good, there's a lot. I mean, and experience really teaches you those things. You can be good at sales, and if you're 1 or 2 years in the business and you're originating a lot of mortgages, that's good. but it doesn't mean that you're the most knowledgeable.
Right.
There's a difference. And so, we have a system internally that's like we built with Google that is like the Google of mortgage guidelines. I forget what it was called when you were there, but now we have this internal system where you can literally search with a Google search engine mortgage guidelines. So you can make sure that you check everything out before
Yeah.
somebody goes and makes offers, and you can make sure you know what you're talking about. But even just understanding and interpreting the guidelines and the spirit of the guideline and what you can get around and what you can't get around, and understanding tax returns and understanding, um, you know, uh, with tax returns, what add backs you can, just different, all the different things. It's a very, very complex business sometimes when it comes to qualifying people. Now there's pay stub W-2. Here's my bank statement. You're good for sure. Um, but for you, what you're looking for is in a partner is somebody who can handle those. And listen, we all love the easy
For
transactions.
sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
But you also want the person where, if you have a really detailed transaction, somebody who's a business owner, maybe has, an umbrella company and owns multiple companies underneath it. You want to be able to trust that your guy can also, or girl can also, take that client in and be a true professional and know how to read the returns and know how the cash flows and know
Yeah.
how things work. And, for me, it's the combination. You have to have somebody who genuinely cares, has good motivation, does the right thing, and genuinely cares about their clients, but then they also have the knowledge base. And for me as a loan officer, one of the things that I've always prided myself on was not only my ability to originate mortgages at a high level and win awards and accolades for my production, but the two things that I always did that was a little different sometimes than a lot of other folks is I would look at revenue for the company. When I was early in my career and growing up, I would always look at how much revenue did I generate for the company, because I wanted to make sure I was doing my part.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I would look at, which was my personal pride point of my business, was what was what we call pull through, or what was my ability
Yes.
to get a client approved and in process and get them from pre-approval to closing, or loan originated in process to closing. And I average over 90% loan originated to close, and I have for well over a decade, because if I approve somebody, that loan works. That
Right.
includes appraisal fallout and everything.
Yeah.
I'm probably 95 or 96% when I did a bake time. I don't lose deals. It just doesn't happen because I do all the good stuff up front. And
Right.
so that's what you're looking for with a partner, is somebody who can not only be a good version of you or an extension of you. If somebody likes me, I like you, my clients will like you too, because we all get along. So
Yeah.
you need that, somebody who's motivated the right way, but then also somebody who has the knowledge base to be able to give you the trust that you need to be able to go find a home. Hey, listen, they qualify. You know what? If you say that, I know they qualify because I know you do your due diligence.
Right. Yeah. No, for those of you that don't know, that the pull through rate, that 95% is incredible. Like that's setting the standard.
Yeah,
Like,
it's very it's
yeah,
that's to me, that's one thing that I have
yeah.
just been emphatic about.
Yeah.
And I hate when deals don't close. I always look at property condition. I always look at what's going on. I always talk with the agent. Hey, are we going to have any concerns? Should we hold off on writing this loan? Should we get the inspection first? Is the client worried about that survey and those plot lines? Like, how should we work this transaction to make sure that it's smooth for the client? We don't have them waste money on appraisals or other things. Like, how should we do this? When you do all those things the right way, then pulling somebody through all the way to the process, at a 90+% rate becomes easier when you do all those little things the right way.
Right. 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 Al says our business is all about great relationships. Be service driven, not profit driven.
Yeah, 100%. You focus on the right things and business will come. The people who are chasing a buck it's the wrong motivation.
Yeah.
If you're chasing meeting more people, if you're chasing great client experiences, if you're chasing providing value to people, the more you do that, like you need to be the show that people want to go to, right?
Yeah.
So like if you are doing all the right things, then people will come to you and work with you because you're doing the right things. So that's a great point. Be service driven, take care of people. And when you're genuine, I'll come back to it again. Good people take care of good people. So your clients will take care of you if you're a good person. Your partners will take care of you if you're a good person. It will happen. It's not always the fastest way, but it's the best way.
Yep. So we did get our first question, and Dave
Yeah.
Petrolius What are your thoughts on where rates will be in 2025?
Man, it's funny. It's Fed meeting this week. It's funny, man. We talk about this a lot, and this is a good topic too, because people people are trained to hear the word rate and they go, "Oh, I heard they're going to drop the rate soon. I
Yeah.
should probably wait.
Yeah.
They're going to drop the rates soon." and what people hear is they hear they hear the news and the Fed's meeting. They're talking about dropping rates and they're like, "Oh, they're going to drop rates. I want to wait." It's like, well, the federal funds rate's not a mortgage rate, and the way they interact with each other there's some synergy, but it's not always one to one, and there's a lot more to consider. So to answer that question, I think in general, this is a really good topic. Rates for 2025, the outlook earlier this year was that we're going to see rates probably start to tumble a little bit. Mid fives, I think, was what a lot of people's projection was.
Yeah.
And coming into the Fed meeting yesterday, when the Fed meets, the market tries to predict what the Fed's going to do before the Fed ever meets. And we're talking about large institutional investors who are moving money, right?
Yeah.
And so if these incredibly smart people predict the Fed's going to cut rates 0.25%, which is what they did, these large money movers adjust their investments between equities and securities, bonds and in the stock market. They adjust these things before the meeting ever happens because you want to be in a stock early before it pops. You want to make moves before the market moves, right? So these people are moving money and doing things before the Fed ever meets.
Yep.
So the Fed's decision to change rates, it's already priced into the market by the time the Fed meets. It's already priced into interest rates. So saying I'm going to wait until that happens, no, the market is smart. It knows what the Fed's going to do most of the time. And it's already been decided before they meet. Now, the thing that can happen when the Fed meets is if they do something totally different than what the market expects, then you see interest rates react. So I'm going to bring this full circle. What happened this meeting was a little different. The market expected a 0.25% rate cut. The Fed gave us a 0.25% rate cut, exactly what was expected. But the market jumped up right after the meeting.
Yeah.
Well, why? This we were talking about just a minute ago, because there are other factors, right? So the market was waiting for some commentary, and the commentary is what moved the market. The commentary was that the Fed is going to be watching rates and watching their decision a little bit more closely next year. And they have stated that they may not be cutting quite as heavy next year as they had originally said. Well, what that did to the market was expecting a 0.25% rate cut this year. But this whole time, the market has also been expecting more cuts next year at a pretty relatively decent clip. So
yeah, I think originally they said next year there was really 6. They said, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And now they're saying, "Well, there might only be like 2."
Right.
And that was the commentary that threw the markets off. And that is the commentary that caused rates to jump up. And so even though the Fed did exactly what the market had priced in, their commentary made people think, "Oh, shoot, maybe rates aren't going to go down next year.
Right.
Maybe they won't go down as much. Maybe we won't see the big drop in rates." You know what the good news is? There's a changing of the guard January 20th. There are economic data reports that come out every week. There are so many things. Does what the Fed said today give us any indication of what's happening next year? Not really.
Not really.
Not really.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are going to happen between now and next year.
Yeah.
My gut reaction is that we're probably going to see a focus next year from, the changing of the guard that happens. There's probably going to be a focus on trying to make it easier to borrow money. Staying out of politics, but just speaking generally, one of the motives of this new administration is to try and increase cash flow, fix the economy, and get people spending money and get people feeling comfortable again. One of the easiest ways to do that is to make money cheap to borrow. And so I think that's on the agenda. I think that's going to be a focus for this next year. And so I do think we're going to see interest rates come down some. Is that a guarantee? There's no crystal ball. It's very tough to be certain. But my knee-jerk reaction is that we're going to see rates start to come down.
Yeah.
To what clip? It's tough, but I think we should see them start to come down. But to that point, there's a lot of consumers out there who are like, "Oh, I'm waiting until rates come down." And right now, when I'm originating a loan for folks, one of the things that I'm doing, because that's a common question. So I'll write a loan at, let's just say like 6.25 or 6.5 right now, or 6.75, whatever the client's at for their particular situation. Well, when clients say, "Hey, I heard rates are supposed to go down next year," what I do for them is I say, let's do some math. You're looking at a $400,000 house. You're going to put 20% down. Okay, here's your payment today at 6.5. If everything happens perfectly and we see a 5.5 next year, here's what your payment will be then. Does it make it that much more affordable, or is it just kind of a nice change?
Yeah.
And they go, you know what? It's $250. Like, it's not like, oh my God, now I can go out and have all these fancy dinners. Like, no, it's a nice change.
Yeah.
And so the change in rate, people should not be chasing that
No.
when it comes to buying or
No.
timing buying a home. If a home is a long-term investment, it's the roof over your head. If you can afford the home, buy the home.
Right.
And
let's be honest too, right? Like you said, $250. Now, I'm not squalling at $250 and saying it's not a lot of money.
No.
But if that $250 a month is going to make or break you, you probably shouldn't be buying that house.
It's all in perspective. If somebody can afford to buy a $400,000 house, then their income is probably at a threshold where $250 a month is relatively not that big of a gain or loss, right? So if you said that to somebody who's buying an $80,000 home, they might go, "Oh my gosh, that's like 40% of my house payment. If I could drop that, right?" And so, but again,
it's all relative.
But if that person refinances and they drop a point on their rate, they're saving $80 a month,
right?
Not 250. But still, to them, with their income and where they're at
yep.
in life and those things, to them, the $80 could be a big deal.
And that goes back to the relationship with the real estate agent and the loan officer.
Yeah,
is getting people in the right spots instead of just getting them in a spot.
Well, and also digging deep and understanding where they're at.
Correct.
So sometimes people are saying, well, I need to wait because I need rates to come down. And when you give them the perspective of what rates are going to do to the house payment, they go, oh, that's not bad. And one thing I always say is, listen, don't buy this house if it's not affordable where rates are today. Don't buy this house betting that someday it'll be cheaper. That's a terrible idea. Your taxes can change. Your insurance can change. Life can happen. Don't ever do that. But I would say, is the house affordable at this payment today? And they say, yes. I go, okay, well, the good news is if rates go down, it's just going to be a little more affordable later.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure you can afford it right now.
Yeah.
That's why I calculate future taxes when I originate loans for people. I don't use the current tax bill. I say, here's what you should expect taxes to be down the road.
Yep.
Here's what your payment's going to be, when your first tax bill comes. Here's, is it comfortable? I don't ever want to run anybody right up to the line. But again, to answer the question, I think rates are going to go down next year. I think we're going to see a little bit of reprieve. But for the average client who's buying a home, a change of 1% shouldn't be make or breaking their decision ever.
Right.
If it's your primary home and you're going to buy a home to live in for 10, 15, 20 years, you don't have to worry about, is the market up? Are prices up? Are prices down? Listen, if you buy a house for 20 grand too much, 20 years down the road, it's not going to matter.
No.
It's not going to, house prices are like the stock market. If you look at the S&P 500 over 20, 30 years, does it matter if you bought 30 years ago or 25 years ago or 20 years ago? Nope. Guess what? It's higher.
Yeah, it's all higher.
Home values will be higher.
Yeah.
If you're buying a home to live in that you're going to love, you buy the home. You don't buy it thinking, oh, I'm going to buy it and I'm going to spend too much. Nope. You look at the price, you look at the payments. If you can afford it, you buy the house. Because 20 years from now, when you decide to sell it, it's going to be worth more. Now, does that mean in 3 years, if you get a lucky break and you buy a house in a good area and it shoots up 20%, sell it if you want to. Go ahead. But the only person who's worried about buying at a good price is the investor. And even then, they can always
it's the ROI, right? Then it's the ROI.
But even for an investor, if it's a long-term hold, if your ROIs monthly are good and it cash flows,
you're getting a point a month.
Who cares?
Yeah, you're great.
It doesn't matter. Just buy it, and then guess what? You're not going to flip it. Okay, well, you're going to hold it for a while.
I got an investor friend of mine. He's got a house down in Florida. He makes I think he actually might lose like $50 a month on it.
Well,
but it's his taxes.
Well, there's depreciation. And there's all kinds of other stuff you can benefit from. But the other thing that a lot of people calculate ROIs a little bit differently. But I think there's one true way to do it. You got your income minus your expenses, like any P&L. But the income is where people miss. So there's 3 different forms of cash flow from an investment property. There's your cash on cash returns. So what are you getting monthly? Like what's the actual cash in the bank? But then you also have appreciation, which when I do ROIs for people, I use 1% appreciation. Some people are like, oh, it's crazy conservative. Yeah, it is. That's okay. But if you've ever put like 3 or 4% appreciation rate and looked at it over 10 years with somebody, they'll look at a $300,000 house and go, 520. Like, there's no way this 1,400 square foot house is going to be that. So there is a point where the market's not going to go 4% every year.
Right.
Like there is a point where 1,500 square foot house is never going to be $1 million home. Like it's just not going to hit that. So there is a resistance point. And so if you use 1%, it's very conservative, but it actually gives you something you can bank on. And then there's also amortized equity. So when your tenants are paying your mortgage, every month a little bit goes towards principal. And the longer you're in a loan, the more money goes towards principal. So your ROI actually goes up over time.
Correct.
So you got to factor those 3 things in. So when you factor those 3 things in, I don't care if you're not cash on cash flowing every month, as long as you are comfortable with that and you don't need the money every month, you can take advantage of the depreciation, you can take advantage of the appreciation, and you can take advantage of the equity gains from the person paying your balance down. So if you're an investor and prices go down a little bit, as long as you're cash flowing or you're at least stable and comfortable, you can just sit on the house and let it take care of itself and just hold it for longer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got some compliments rolling in right now.
Oh man, I appreciate
Al
it.
says, I don't know, Chris, but his comforting voice and knowledge is very comforting.
That's it. Man, I appreciate it.
How much did you pay Al to put this on there?
I'm gonna have to hit him up on the side.
And he said, meaning calm and comforting tonality doesn't sound like a hard, pushy salesperson.
No, I hate that. I'm not. It's funny when I can appreciate somebody with good sales skill, but I hate feeling like I'm being pushed. So
Yeah.
I don't think you ever have to. I heard on this social media platform one time, this guy was talking and he said something that most people won't say in sales, because there's always the guys out there that are sales coaches that you hear them doing the hard close and the influence and persuasion, and they got swag, and you're like, oh man, that guy's got, and some people who are young in sales look at that and they get enamored a little bit.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But this guy that I heard said something, I was go, man, that guy is a veteran. That guy knows what he's talking about. And here's what he said. He goes, I just find people who need me and I solve their problems. If somebody doesn't want to work with me, I'm not going to push them to. I say, you know what? It's nice to meet you. Have a nice day. It's okay. Right? I don't like my goal is to find people that need me and solve that problem. And that's my version of sales. Now, can I get better at the art of the conversation? And can I get better at understanding people's needs? And can I improve my linguistic skills? Yes, I can. And I can be a better, I can be better at conversation. I can be a better communicator for sure. And that'll make me better at sales. Absolutely. But at some point in the conversation, if this is not my person, and there's agents that I've met over the years, like that person who's like, I'll just put you on a list. And, I had one person who's an agent who's like, well, listen, I'm going to, every time I get a client, I'm always worried about their top dollar. So I'm going to get estimates from my 3 lenders. And, if I'll give you a shot. And I said, respectfully, I want to work with people who build their business around me and I build my business around them.
Yeah.
And that's not quite how I want to do things, but I appreciate the opportunity. But, that's, I'm not in a battle every time I want to do a deal. I want to work with people who trust me and know that I'm going to take care of them, and they're going to get a great deal, but they're also going to get all this experience, knowledge, and in my aptitude for the industry. That's what they're going to get. And if that's not something that you trust and you want to refer people to, that's okay. But I don't like doing business the way that you like doing business, and we're just not a good fit. And so they're agents that I haven't worked with, and it's been a mutual thing, and it's been fine. There are clients that are the same way. So in sales, I don't have to have every client. I just have to have the right clients, and I have to have my clients, and that's it. That's all I need.
That's it. And then because here's what'll happen, and this is another takeaway for you guys. Here's what'll happen. If you work like Chris is talking about right now, and working on, all right, this is how I do business. I don't do it that way. I do it this way. This is the way I like to do business. What you'll find is you're going to get more business, because then you're going to get more referral business.
Yeah.
Because those people are like, man, I worked with Chris. I really liked the way he handled everything. He was straightforward with me. He told me everything. Call him. Right? Yeah. When they hear somebody at a party somewhere say, I need a mortgage. Here's Chris's number. Like, call him. I worked with him before. Right? I hope that they say that about me somewhere. But
always.
But again, it goes back to that same thing. It's like creating those relationships, building a, and it's okay to not have everyone.
Yeah.
Like that's another thing that agents and loan officers, I think, miss out on. Like they're so busy scrambling doing everything, they don't take care of the clients that they have, that they've worked with before, their past clients that they've worked with before, the ones that are in their CRM right now, the ones that are just sitting right there, like we talked about when we first started, the ones on your phone, like the ones right here.
Yeah,
like just start with those.
Yeah,
and hit up those. And again, it's that time of year, holidays. Reach out to them, wish them a happy holiday. Do they need a mortgage?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. It's fun to have a little banter back and forth if you get,
Sure.
if
Neither
you're,
one of us is scared of that.
yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah. Like, you got a client who has some objections or some things that you got to work through. I mean, the art of the conversation can be fun for sure. But I think the gist of it is that if you try to find people that are your people and you work with those folks and you build your business around that, you don't need to have every client. You just need to have the right clients. And when you do that, the right clients will take care of you over the long term and you build a great career doing it. So.
Love that, man. Yeah, and it's true, right? It seems simple. It just seems simple. And I coach agents on when I talk about social media, just be your authentic self.
Yeah.
And you'll attract those same people back.
Yeah. 100%. Wait, so what I recently talked about with some teams at our company. Sometimes I'll go around and I know after 18 years, I know a lot of folks in the company and they know that I built a referral business. So I'll get asked every now and again to come talk to their team or, just sit down with somebody. And one of the things that we talked about recently was you have to be the same person you are individually as you are a professional. And what I mean by that is, if if you had something that if we were on the phone and you told me, "Hey, I got to go have a procedure on my on my knee next week," and I said, "Man, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully everything goes well." And I'm genuine and I mean that. If you're one of my really good friends and you told me that, I'm probably going to put something on my calendar and go, "Jimmy surgery Tuesday."
Yeah.
And then I'm going to probably call you or text you and be like, "Hey, brother, how's your knee? You
Yeah.
doing all right? You need anything?"
Well, you did that when we were talking. My mom fell and broke her wrist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was literally talking to Chris. We were on jumped on a Zoom. I'm on my phone in the hospital. Like, hey man, like my mom's going in for surgery in a minute. I got some time.
Yeah.
Right. And then you called like the next week and we're like, hey, how's mom doing?
Yeah. Well, that's that's being a real person as an individual and as a professional, truly caring about people. So so my point was if you're in business and somebody says that, if you're truly genuine, you'll check in. You'll like, what what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like if you really care and it's not just a facade, then you'll do those things.
Yep.
So I've said, listen, if you can build a business where you're the same person as a business person as you are an individual, and you take that care all the way through your business, you just doing that one thing, you will do very well in life.
Yeah.
And so, my clients, it's personal for me. My agents who are trying to make an income for their family, it's personal to me. It's not just a business. It's personal to me because it's personal to you. I want to see you do well. I want to see you succeed. And if I focus on that, I'll do well in the meantime. It's fine. I'll do well, but it's because I'm doing it and I'm going about my life in a way that I'm proud of.
Yeah.
My kids would be proud of me. My wife would be proud of me. My grandparents, who are not here anymore, but they raised me to be somebody, they inspired me to be somebody that they would be proud of, and so I think you should be the same person as a professional as you are as an individual. And that's just one example of something that I've tried to do. And there's a lot of people who are good intentioned when they might tell you, "Hey, I'm sorry, man. I hope your knee surgery goes well." They may be a good quality person, but they separate their business and their personal life. And so they don't think of it as like, I should check in on Jimmy next week, and they should, and you shouldn't. You should put as much effort into your professional business as you do your personal business. And that's the whole theme of what we've been talking about, relationships.
Yeah.
So that's, if I can give somebody a tip who's young and they're trying to build their career, whether you're an agent or you're a loan officer, that's the most basic, fundamental, initial starting block. Like if you're looking at a cornerstone of a home, right? What keeps the foundation up and what's that one thing in the corner that you want to build your business off of? That would be the one core foundational piece that I would give somebody from day one, is be the same person as a professional as you are an individual. Take that care, take that compassion, take that thought, take that, take all of that and be the same person always, and be genuine and be real and admit when you're wrong. And, sometimes, listen, I would love to say over 18 years I've been perfect. I haven't,
Yeah. All the things, man. No, and again, I told you this hour goes by fast, but
it does.
But where can everybody find you?
So you can find I Rocket Local Troy on Instagram. I changed my Instagram handle so that way people could find me pretty easily. So Rocket Local, which is the name of our business channel, Rocket Local Troy. 248-342-4251 is my cell phone. You can text or call me, or you can also email me at Chris Osterlund at rocketmortgage.com, Osterlund, and Chris is spelled with the CH.
Love it, man. And we got some stuff coming up. EXP agents, guys, listen. Our local event here is going to be May 6th.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Rocket Mortgage.
Yep, we're going to see you guys May 6th at the top of the One Campus Marshes building. I'm going to be there. Jimmy is going to give us maybe 10 minutes or so to jump up and kind of talk a little bit more about what we're doing locally. But I love the fact that we have an opportunity to host. I always appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
And thanks for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. The regional rally, May 6th, guys. Look for the information coming out soon.